On Tuesday afternoon, an armed man robbed the Wilshire Bank of an undisclosed amount of money. The robber shot at this Warr Acres police car as he escaped the scene. One bullet hit a police officer. But by Wednesday morning, both the car and the officer had returned to the Warr Acres police station. The officer is 28-year-old Pam Moore, the only woman on the Warr Acres force. Moore has been a police officer for 2 years, but Tuesday was the first time anyone ever shot at her. Fortunately, the bullet only nicked her finger. She was treated at Mercy Health Center and released.
I couldn't believe that it happened. The part that scared me more than anything was seeing those holes in my windshield and seeing where they were in line with where we were sitting in the car, and to think that nobody was shot, you know, in the chest or in the face or in the head. I couldn't believe. The guy apparently knew how to handle the revolver. He knew what he was doing. My mom said, "I think it's time you looked for another job," and I said, "No, it's just getting good."
And Officer Moore says the excitement of days like Tuesday makes it all worthwhile. Bill Ross, Action 4, at the Warr Acres Police Department. If you could just sit there, never... Deputy Chief Gray Hutto was one of the park rangers who searched for the body of 13-year-old Wesley Bradway Thursday. Bradway was presumed dead after a canoe accident last Saturday. Hutto and 2 other park rangers searched the area around the 39th Street Bridge about 12:45. The boy's body finally surfaced there. The rangers pointed out the spot where Bradway's body had been found. Their 6-day search was over. His body had surfaced on this patch of brush.
We couldn't quite reach him because it's way over your head there. By using pike poles and lines, I was able to secure 2 lines to him.
This area is several miles from the point where Bradway's canoe hit a log jam and capsized. So the search is finally over. But what started as a leisurely canoe trip will haunt Wesley Bradway's family and friends for a long, long time. Bill Ross, Action 4, on the banks of the North Canadian.
George Aiken began the tough task of job hunting as soon as the word came down. He was one of the lucky ones. His resume included more than just 16 years of employment with Braniff Airlines. George has a degree in business administration as well as some background in the oil business. For him, those extras paid off. 2 weeks ago, George was hired by E&L Industries, an oil field supplier. It's been hard starting all over again.
Well, I tell you what, I think I got in a rut at the airport. You know, I guess all people do that. You just go to work and come home and go to work and come home, and you get in a routine, and kind of you don't get off the beaten path so much. But actually it's been a blessing for me because I think I found a better job, and I really like it.
George is a field representative. It's similar to his former job at Braniff because he's still dealing with people. The new employee calls himself fortunate. Of his close friends at Braniff, only one other has gotten a job. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
I'm Bill Ross. Sunday's rally attracted women of all ages. For many, it was a family affair. Mother and daughter showing their support for ERA. Bernadine Terry of Chickasha brought 2 daughters, 2 daughters-in-law, and 5 granddaughters to the Capitol.
And I would like to see things better for them. I have had to fight very hard for a teaching position and for pay that I thought was due me, according to my education, according to the training that I had. And I really don't think that we're going to be okay in Oklahoma until we do pass that ERA.
Daughter Mary came all the way from Seattle, Washington for the rally.
I think it will pass by June 30th. If it doesn't pass by June 30th, it'll come back. And that's why I say, let's not waste our energy over and over and over again on this. Let's do it now.
And what does granddaughter Ann think about all this?
I don't know.
The Terry family joined thousands of others in yelling ERA yes. But unless 3 states change their mind by June 30th, the answer for ERA will be no. Bill Ross, Action 4 at the state capitol.
Wait, Justin, wait.
Daycare centers and nurseries, no matter how well run, can be breeding grounds for childhood diseases. But if your child comes down with the flu, chickenpox, or other viral infections, it would be best if you did not give your child aspirin until you have contacted your family doctor. 4 separate studies have shown a link between aspirin and the sometimes fatal illness Reye Syndrome. Dr. Diane Dwyer gives this advice to parents until more research is done.
I think that if any child is showing a fever during an influenza-like illness or chickenpox, that the best advice we can give at this point is to avoid aspirin-containing compounds to lower the fever during that illness. The presumption right now is that the Food and Drug Administration will come out with some type of a warning to that effect on the bottles of aspirin-containing products.
Right now, most aspirin products contain a warning to children under 2 years of age, but Reye syndrome tends to affect children ages 5 to 14. 12 cases were reported in Oklahoma last year. So the next time you reach for aspirin at your local drugstore, remember that the most common over-the-counter drug taken by millions of people every day is still a very dangerous drug when given to small children. Bella Shaw, Action 4.
As this action was brought in good faith because not of a phony crisis as counsel or the Attorney General's office would lead you to believe, because of a real crisis. Chaos resulted from this opinion.
Mr. Ford's affidavit is a representation to the court that there is no crisis in state government by reason of the Attorney General's opinion. It is a representation to the court by the state purchasing director that all purchasing problems can be handled on a temporary basis.
The Parents Assistance Center in Northwest Oklahoma City is just one place people can go to deal with child abuse. For one thing, the center is manned with volunteers like Jenny Harris, who devote their free time counseling children. The first hour is spent playing with toys, and then Jenny moves into more delicate territory. She helps the children get over their feelings, whether it be hate, frustration, or anger. The volunteers at the center also work with the children's parents. They try to tell them that child abuse is not uncommon.
All of us can abuse, but everybody that's a parent, everybody that's around kids knows that they are real frustrating, and everybody does things that they regret.
Parents Assistance Center.
The Parents Assistance Center is always in need of more volunteers, people willing to give just a couple of hours to answer the abuse hotline and tell people there is a place for help. All of these counseling centers operate on limited funds. Many receive donations. And what they're trying to do now during Child Abuse Awareness Week is get across the idea that good things are being done in preventing abuse and not just focus on the horror of the act itself. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
A Burlington Northern freight train was traveling these tracks about 1 o'clock this morning, 7 miles southeast of Altus in Jackson County. The unexpected suddenly occurred. There was a train derailment. 17 cars jumped the tracks.
It looked like a scene from a Hollywood disaster movie. The impact was awesome. Huge cars were overturned like toys. The supports to this bridge were snapped like toothpicks. Heavy metal was bent like brittle. Fortunately, no hazardous chemicals were involved in this derailment. The cars were loaded with corn. Officials say they aren't sure what caused the accident.
We'll have to look at some of the structure underneath the derailed cars after we move them and look at the rails and the equipment, the wheels, to determine what did happen, because there's a lot of wheels and rail ties still buried under the derailment there.
Crews are in the process of cleaning up the debris. Officials have yet to put a dollar estimate on the damage, and they say they're not sure how long it will be before trains can travel down this track again. Ben McCain, Action 4 near Altus in Jackson County.
Is he right?
Yes! Oklahoma City schools need at least 2,500 full-time teachers for next year to keep their classroom instruction on course. Today, the administration is over 150 teachers short of that quota. Most of the vacancies fall into a few areas, including math, science, and industrial arts. School officials have resorted to nationwide newspaper advertising to lure these type of teachers to Oklahoma. Classified advertisements are being placed in cities across the country, which may be experiencing high unemployment in these hard-pressed times. Betty Mason says teachers in Oklahoma are leaving the classroom to seek jobs in higher-paying fields.
And it's a business drain. The math and science people are going into high technology and business, and I would suggest, yes, it has a lot to do with the money that they're able to make there. But even on the college and university campuses, we find that there are fewer and fewer young people who are majoring in math and science getting teaching credentials. So they're really being lured to the business world. We call it the business drain.
The school administration is hopeful their vigorous national recruitment program will succeed in filling the vacancies by fall. But if not, substitute teachers will be employed temporarily. At this time, officials are not anticipating any kind of cutback in courses that are now offered. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
A group called the Coalition for Social Justice sponsored a rally on the OU campus to protest conditions in Iran. Speakers said Iran under Ayatollah Khomeini has disintegrated into a country of chaos and repression. They said 15,000 people have been executed since Khomeini came to power, and 45,000 have been taken prisoners. One spokesman said unless things change, the Khomeini regime will stay in power.
It will last as long as oppressive and imperialist forces are allowed to dominate that area, and as long as democratic forces are kept in the background or are tortured and hung by the rulers of that area.
One spokesperson claimed Iran has been especially cruel to women, that Khomeini has said women are the spoils of his country's war with Iraq. And the charge was made that the torture and execution of pregnant women and young girls is now commonplace in Iran. One speaker suggested an alternative to Khomeini.
Only one democratic alternative, and there's only one solution to the genocide in Iran, and that is the National Council of Resistance.
NCR yes! Khomeini no! NCR yes!
The demonstrators then marched around the South Oval chanting support for the National Council of Resistance. They claim Iranians from all walks of life support the NCR, but so far that group hasn't been able to topple the Ayatollah. These demonstrators hope that changes soon. Bill Ross, Action 4 in Norman.
Stress is a long-term cumulative phenomenon. It begins in adolescence, and we don't see the results of it until we're in our 40s or 50s.
Actually, there's a wide range of stress-related conditions. Some of the most common ones would be high blood pressure, ulcers, backache. These would be some of the more common. But this also ranges to certain arthritic conditions. We're beginning to see stress as a major factor in cancer. And, of course, stress has always been recognized as a major factor in heart disease.
Over 46 million persons a year suffer from some sort of heart ailment. According to Dr. Arthur Zeiner at the OU Health Sciences Center, speaking to the Oklahoma City Advertising Club, the most insidious aspects of heart disease is that we work under it for days, weeks, and even years and never feel the immediate effect of it. Dr. Zeiner emphasized and re-emphasized the effects of smoking and outgrowth of stress.
In this country, you could eliminate 25% of heart disease if people stop smoking.
When we talk about smoking and sudden heart attacks, there is nothing sudden about it. That heart attack has been a long time brewing. This is Jack Willoughby, married to his college sweetheart, 2 grown children, a successful law practice, and very active in his community. Everything in his life seemed perfect. Perfect until 3 days before his 40th birthday. Then he suffered a massive coronary. The attack was so severe, the doctors weren't sure if he would survive.
They had asked me if our wills were in order, and I figured that that meant that there was a good chance that he might not make it.
I had really no time for my family, no time for the kids. Elaine virtually raised the kids on her own. I was the father in name only, and I was too busy to participate in the family life.
Jack was in the intensive care unit for 3 weeks. He was completely off work for 6 months, and it took him a full year to return to the office on a regular basis.
People can learn enormously when they're ill or under stress conditions. They can look at their lives. They can reevaluate what led to the stress. They can make new decisions. They can regenerate. So I always look at a period of illness as a time of profound change. I think it offers the most potential for a person to reorient their lives and to pay attention to new values.
Right now, the most important thing is my family, and it didn't used to be that way at all. I was just really caught up in the idea of doing my job, and I see now what I've missed in those early years. We do a lot more things together. We make it a point to spend time with each other, with the children.
You know what those are. What are
that
those?
time is quality time.
Tomorrow, where to go for help in the final part of our Newsbreaker series, Coping with Stress. I'm Jerry Adams, Action 4.
The federal judge overruled an agreement between the State Welfare Department and attorneys for the juvenile state wards because he felt any agreement should be made with the influence of state legislators and the Attorney General. But Attorney General Janet Cartwright is opposed to any federal intervention. He wants the state to handle the situation itself. Legal aid attorneys representing the former state wards say it's time for the federal courts to step back in.
We will not settle this case without a federal court order being entered. The Attorney General refuses under any circumstances to agree to a federal court order of any kind. Now, if he were to change his position on that and agree to an order, negotiations could get underway again.
George Miller, assistant to Human Services Director Lloyd Rader, says the department is willing to negotiate too.
We think it would be in the best interest of everyone if it can be settled without a trial. And hopefully, well, it just depends on the judge's attitude, whether he wants to go ahead and give these people some further instructions and to see if they can reach some kind of a consensus, or whether he just wants to go ahead and set a trial date.
The plaintiffs in the case aren't seeking damages, only changes. Cartwright says the state is already making the changes, and federal intervention won't help anybody. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4. Police say it was shortly after opening at 10 o'clock this morning when a tall black male entered the jewelry store near 23rd Street and Villa. The man asked to see diamonds, and when the owner turned around, the suspect pulled a gun. He gathered the loose diamonds and took another of the store partners hostage.
He took Connie Lurch, took hold of her by the neck and held a .38 caliber pistol. He then ordered them to open up one of the cases to get the gold necklaces. He didn't wait, however, and he fired a shot into the front glass of where the necklaces were all hung. One of the employees simply gathered up the necklaces off of the display and bagged the material up.
The man escaped with $30,000 to $40,000 worth of jewelry and continued to hold Connie Lurch hostage for protection. But several blocks away, Lurch was found released and unharmed.
Someone came out the front door and he says, "If he does anything, I'll kill you." I was just going through my mind, what is he going to do to me? And that's all I could think about.
Police are still investigating the robbery. The suspect is a black male in his late 20s, about 6'1". But police believe they have found the car in which he and the hostage left the scene. They don't know what kind of vehicle the man is in now. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4, in northwest Oklahoma City.
Acquaintances of Gary and Sally were under the impression that Gary had been ordered by a court not to see the child for a period of time. So they were concerned that something might have happened to Sally, and they contacted the police department, and they in turn got a hold of us.
Every year about this time, fireworks stands open up all around the city. Notice we said all around, not all over. It's illegal to sell or possess fireworks inside city limits. This stand has operated for more than 20 years on a spot between Bethany, Oklahoma City, and Lake Overhoser. But fireworks are a lot like liquor by the drink. We don't have them, but we do. And every year the fire department does what they can to protect the city. And they say it's working.
In 1979, we had $400,000 worth of damage to homes. And last year there was around $20,000 damage. So it's been very effective.
One fireworks proprietor says the enforcement may have helped the city, but it hasn't hurt his business.
They just doing their job. They really haven't hurt us that much. I mean, in other words, there's just a lot of publicity, which is kind of misunderstanding publicity. And it really isn't all as bad as it, sometimes sounds.
The truth of the matter is, if you want to get fireworks, you probably can. So some advice is to be careful and don't spoil the fun. Parents shouldn't let their kids play without supervision, and fireworks should never be used near homes or dry grass. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
Have a nice day.
The actual, as it is indicated, steering committee for various committees, each and all. June the 28th at 8:30 a.m. in Cleveland County Courthouse.
School district. Let's say invested. I think we've all come to the realization that we have problems.
There will be more coming to you on these things as we progress along. Some may think we're moving a little bit slow, and maybe we are, but we're
It's no secret that the oil industry in Oklahoma is strong, but it's getting harder and harder to make a lot of money in the oil business because of the economy. The Reagan administration is thinking about imposing some new taxes. Oilmen think the new taxes would be disastrous and discourage investors from getting into the oil business. Oilmen also feel that they are being unfairly singled out to help the recession-riddled economy get over some of its woes.
If they're going to tax corporations, let's tax all the corporations. Let's everyone share in the burden. I'd even go farther and say, let's tax individuals too, if the tax is really necessary. But if they want to tax somebody, I think they should tax the imported oil, and let the majors share in all the fun too.
And the oilmen feel if the new taxes are approved, investors will be pouring their money down a hole that will eventually become dry. Bella Shaw, Action 4.